Hey there, friend. Welcome to the Real Mom Manual podcast. This show is for moms who love their full lives, but are carrying a lot and are done with that unnecessary chaos, making it harder than it already is. I'm Michelle, mom of 3, including 1 with Down syndrome. And around here, we focus on systems, rhythms, and special needs support. Not perfect, not effortless, just making life simpler to manage. Less friction, that is the goal. Welcome back, friends. Today we're talking about something that sounds simple, but it quietly changes everything, I think, once you see it more clearly. Bare minimum systems that actually hold up in real life. Not systems that work on your best days. Not systems that assume everybody slept, nobody melted down, and nothing unexpected happened. Systems that still actually work and support you when you're tired, when your brain is fried, and when the day doesn't go to plan. Because let's be honest, most days just don't go to plan. Here's the truth. A system that only works on calm, predictable days is not a system. It's a fantasy, right? Most moms are not struggling because they don't care or they don't try hard enough. They're exhausted because they're trying to run real life every day on systems that were never designed for it. So this is where I see so many moms quietly turn on themselves, because I'm doing it too. You try a routine, you read advice, you scroll through Instagram, you give it an honest shot. Let's say a couple days, a week, something new, maybe for a minute, it works. And then somebody gets sick. School throws your rhythm off. Your kid has a really tough transition week. You're up in the middle of the night with a baby. Life interrupts you mid-plan with something else. Suddenly, everything just collapses. So what happens next? You automatically assume, or at least I do, you're the problem. You tell yourself, man, I just cannot stick to anything. Why does this feel so much harder for me than everybody else? It seems like all these other people are making it work. What's wrong with me? That self-blame and comparison adds just more weight and pressure, of course, on top of an already very heavy and frustrating load because it's just not working for you. But what nobody's really telling you is that most advice when it comes to creating habits, systems, routines, rhythms at home, it's built on this is going to be a calm, predictable environment. Do 1 load of laundry a day. Reset your house for 10 to 15 minutes every night. Run that dishwasher every day. Just stay consistent. But all of that does not account for young kids, emotional regulation struggles, sports schedules, therapy appointments, school transitions, or the fact that energy in general is just not consistent. An example, my daughter's in kindergarten at a demanding school, and lately when I pick her up, if I'm being blatantly honest, afternoons are just terrible. Especially after a longer break. Like when we went back after winter break, her nervous system is just done. Just complete meltdown. My middle son, as I've mentioned, has Down syndrome. And if he says poo, I drop everything immediately. That is a non-negotiable at this point. Otherwise, it is happening, or it already did, whether I'm ready or not. For the most part, he does not signal at all. So if I have the opportunity to try and get it straight in the toilet, I'm going for it right away. And that is not chaos. It's just dealing with real life, right? If systems that you're setting up keep falling apart, it's not failure. It's information that it's just not there yet. And this is where I want to slow down a bit, because I think this is the part that makes everything else click. A lot of us have read or heard about, at least, Atomic Habits, the book by James Clear. It has been one of the top selling books for years for a reason. People are desperate to figure out why change feels so hard and why nothing seems to stick, right? A favorite quote of mine that Clear says is, "You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems." And that majorly matters, specifically for moms, I think. So here's a huge distinction that helps in real life. A habit is something you have to remember to do and likely relies on motivation. A system is something that keeps working even when you forget or have no motivation. As I just said, habits rely on motivation. Systems rely on structure. Motivation is unreliable at best when life is complex. Let me give you some examples here. A habit might sound like, I'll wake up earlier and get everybody ready for school calmly. But a system sounds like, clothes are picked out for the week on Sunday, lunches are packed, backpacks are by the door, shoes and socks live right by the door, so mornings don't require thinking, they require steps and out the house. A habit might sound like, I'll remember to schedule that appointment next week. But a system sounds like, if it's not in my calendar immediately, it does not exist. A habit sounds like, I'll fold the laundry as soon as I hear the ding and it's finished. But a system sounds like, everybody's got a clean clothes basket, folding's optional, they get tossed in there and they get tossed in rooms, near rooms, in the bathroom, wherever it is. A habit sounds like, I'll figure out what dinner we're going to eat around 3 p.m. every day. But a system sounds like we have, say, 5 meals that work. When energy is low, we always have those ingredients. We can always make those meals, and we're going to put them in our dinner rotation every 2 weeks. One depends on how you feel. The other assumes you'll be tired and plans for that. And if you're not as tired, guess what? It's working even better. That's the difference. So a little backstory I feel like I should tell you is that structure never really felt supportive to me. And I think this matters because maybe you've been there too. I'm an only child and my mom was very regimented, very organized, very type A growing up. The environment was very controlled. To the point where she cleaned a different room every day. Very few things were allowed to live on surfaces, and I was told immediately, that bag doesn't go on the table. Put it somewhere else. That goes in your room. Shoes don't belong on the floor. Put them in your room, or put them over here, wherever. Everything had a right way. At the same time, though, I would say our house was not minimalist. There were collections, throw pillows, frame photos, curio cabinet with little things, the guest towels that nobody touched. Haha, I know, everybody had those, right? It wasn't about having less. It was about where things could exist. The expectation was that you were supposed to know the rules, or you would be told the rules, of course. There wasn't a lot of building that together. And I get it. It's my parents' house. That's what they wanted, and that's how it worked. Okay, fine. More like, yes, this is how it runs. Get on board, we'll say. She used to joke if she was cleaning and you were standing in the way, you get clean too, because you were in the way. And I remember eye rolling when she'd say, if you would run out of toothpaste or any toiletries, whatever, it's your job to put it on the list on the fridge. In my head, I'm like, why can't I just tell you and then you put it on the fridge? But again, it was never a backstory. Oh, well, that makes it easier for me because every Tuesday I go to CVS. So as long as you figure out what you need by, say, Monday afternoon and you put it on the list, that'll make it easier for me to remember that when Tuesday I go to CVS, I'll get you more toothpaste, whatever it is. So like I said, looking back, I can see the structure that existed, but it wasn't something I learned how to create. And it was done for me, not necessarily with me. So as an adult, I really didn't know how to build it. I'd wing it. I'd try routines. They wouldn't stick. And I assumed that meant I was just bad at this, right? Destined to be an unorganized type B mess forever. And what I eventually learned was systems are learned skills, can be trial and error, and they are not personality traits. So I would say one thing that I did learn over time here is that systems significantly struggle when there is too much stuff. And I shouldn't say too much stuff. This is not a declutter your whole house episode. But it's when you could have, as I said, my parents weren't minimalist, but everything had a place. That is one thing I know from my parents. Every single thing had a place. You would never catch a pile of papers, except for on my parents' kitchen desk that were actively being used out in the open. And again, when there is too much stuff, minimalism is not necessarily the goal. Clarity is the goal. So for me, systems didn't really work until the excess was reduced enough that I could actually see what mattered, see what needed support, and start to give the things that miscellaneously, if that's even a word, just laid out to be put somewhere someday, and they didn't have a place. That said, like I just mentioned, this is not a me telling you to declutter your whole house today episode. But if your home feels like it's got friction, start small. Try something today. Make one move that reduces effort. For example, you probably have one at home, even if it's a spare laundry basket, a sturdy, easy to clean basket that you can put by your exit door for all the shoes that you know is on the floor. They're all on the floor. Put them in the basket. Doesn't matter whose, they can all go in there for now. If your kids, like mine, love to be outside and they do water play and messy play, whatever, put a couple spare towels by your back door. Perfect, easy to grab, help prevent some mess. We do cereal during the week, Monday through Friday, for the most part for my kids, because it's easy, fast, and filling. So cereal and bowls live right near the kitchen table so that they can help themselves. You can build systems with what you already have and without micro-organizing yourself into further frustration, because that never works. Keep in mind, too, that systems don't have to be aesthetic. It just needs to be efficient. Put it where it's used. I'll get more into both of these topics in later episodes. So let's talk load-bearing versus aspirational systems. This is a filter I try to use. What does it look like when the energy is low and I don't want to touch any of this? If the answer is I'll try harder, I'll remember, I'll push through and deal with it, it's not a system yet. It's just a fantasy. A load-bearing system, like a load-bearing wall, defaults to good enough, reduces decisions, it survives interruption, and it's still standing. If it collapses on a hard day, it's not failure. It's feedback that you still need to make changes. It's an ongoing process, we'll say, because I think that's a big thing too. It's never going to be finished. Your kids are always going to be growing and going into new stages. You're going to be growing as a person. Maybe you get a new job. Maybe you move, whatever it is. But you have to adjust and figure out what works right for you. Every family is different too. Let's take a quick special needs snapshot and talk about this load. It's the same load, but different layers, I would say. More appointments, more paperwork, more deadlines, more coordination in general that does not show up on a calendar that anyone else really sees, right? For our family, a lot of that weight is managed by letting the environment do more of the work and support us. So this did not come naturally at all. It came through a lot of trial and error, observation, and adjusting as we learned what actually helps our days run more smoothly and more safely. For example, my son's closet doors, we took them off. Last year, they became something to pull on, play with, and removing them eliminated a not only daily point of friction, but a safety hazard. His clothes, pajamas, pull-ups, they all live in the bathroom where he gets dressed and uses the potty. We removed the dresser actually too from his room. Not because of a mess, but because it created more work and more risk than value. Even bolted to the wall, it invited climbing on it and constant resets. If I kept any clothes or anything in there, they would be pulled out on the floor. And again, this is where I started not folding things, because when my son started to pull things out, it was a lot easier to just toss them back in. I thought to myself, why am I doing this? My effort's being undone every day, multiple times a day. So, another one, his shoes and socks. We have a couple pairs of shoes, many socks. We have a few pairs that stay in the car. He takes them off all the time. He doesn't love to wear shoes. So keeping them where we actually need them removes another decision and one more scramble when we're trying to go into school or appointments, whatever it is. So none of it is about lowering standards. It's about designing for how life really functions. This kind of environmental support is not talked about nearly enough, especially for families managing more variables than most advice really even accounts for. So when the environment stops creating friction, everything else becomes easier to manage. Not perfect, but it's a lot steadier. Let's get into today's real life report. Because this is what every day is like, right? Right now, I am luteal tired, we'll say. I am still weaning. I'm weaning. Although the baby had a few good nights, I would say this past week, and he slept through the night a couple of times. He is getting molars and canines on both the top and bottom. And he's still waking at least once a night, more than not. So I am balancing the focus and exhaustion. I'm a night owl, so doing stuff at night is when I focus best. So I definitely struggle with that. I gotta say though, this week I sold a wagon, my daughter's old dresser with a changing table top, and drumroll, the kid kitchen set that was driving me absolutely insane. I know I've talked about this in a previous episode. Do I put it in the playroom? Do I keep it in our own kitchen? Do I put it outside? Well, guess what? It's gone. It's never played with. And I sold it on Facebook Marketplace. I made about $100 in a weekend. It was a big win. I actually need to think about a couple things that I'm planning on selling this coming week. And it reminded me too that, some seasons I do want to sell stuff. I would love to make a couple bucks back from some things, and some seasons I just don't. So right now the garage is my stall zone and stuff just sits there. Well, I decide, do I donate it? Do I sell it? Whatever. The decision fatigue from figuring that out is total pain. But I find that when I am struggling, I just put it in the donation box. I try to have a threshold as well. So if I can sell something for $20 or more, I might list it. But then sometimes my threshold fluctuates. So $50 or more, I'll list it, whatever it is. This is something I will definitely get further into, but I now have a respite care provider for my middle son, which is incredible. And it has been a long time coming. I remember talking to my best friend last year, and it was probably about a year ago because it was January. And she's like, oh, that's so exciting that you're going to hopefully be getting help pretty soon. How long do you think it's going to take? And I said, well, once I go through this process over the next couple of weeks, it should be a couple of weeks to a month. And she's like, really? I don't think so. I'm like, oh, well, I'm hoping it's not going to be that long, maybe a month. Guess what? It took an entire year. It took a year, multiple applications, denials, issues, support coordinators that just up and left. I mean, crazy. And this is a big part of why the special needs aspect as a special needs mom is so important to me in this podcast, because I am navigating all of these systems just like so many of you are too. And I'm not saying I've got it all figured out, but I've now been going through it. And I went from crying in my car, discouraged with denial of care and all kinds of stuff, to I am finally getting the help, the resources. I'm learning more. I'm finding people that actually help. So that is a huge, huge win. She is so kind. She's so caring. She lives close by. She'll come and she'll hang out with my middle son and watch him while I get a bit of a break and I get some other stuff done. So while I still have the baby with me, I'm able to tackle a lot more of certain things or go shopping without having to juggle two kids, especially I feel like at this age, the baby being a little bit over 1, it's still an easier time to bring him out. Unless he needs a nap and he starts getting upset, of course, right? But I was able to actually tackle a little bit more of the garage this morning, and I was able to list a couple more items to sell. So I listed those. We'll see what happens. And then I'll throw a few others in the donation box. I am pretty sure, I just talked to my daughter about this over the weekend, but I'm pretty sure we're going to sell her dollhouse. And I'm going to use that money to buy her a new dollhouse. And you know what? I will talk about this probably further in a future episode, but this was her 5th birthday present. So it's been over a year. And I got I'm trying to think, it's probably a 4-foot tall, humongous kid craft, good quality for the most part. I mean, again, I don't think kids' toys are made very well these days, but it's a kid craft dollhouse. One of my favorite creators and podcasts, by the way, they have been talking about vintage toys, like a vintage dollhouses and all kinds of fun stuff from like the 90s when we grew up. So I wonder if she would like that, but she loves Barbies. So this was really a Fitz Barbie's dollhouse, adorable, mid-century modern furniture, brightly colored, has an elevator, has a pool in the front. I thought she would love it. Well, she liked it and then told me about how sad, multiple times, how she's so sad she would love a Barbie dream house because she wants a slide. And she thinks they would have so much fun with the slide. And she said that to me multiple times. And she doesn't play with the dollhouse, unfortunately. Like, I thought she would just love it and want to play with the dollhouse. And, you know, that's where ads, I feel like, really get you, because we have seen the Barbie Dreamhouse ad multiple times on YouTube when we'll watch some we like Danny Go and some of the other fun YouTube shows. And we've seen Barbie Dreamhouse ads. And that got it in her head. Oh, I wish I had a Barbie dream house. So I proposed to her this weekend that if we sell your dollhouse, we can take that money and we can buy a Barbie dream house instead. And as much as I would love to have something that's better quality and not hot pink plastic, if it's going to make her happy and she's actually going to want to play with it, I will gladly do it. Another side note for real life, my husband and I watched 2 really great shows lately that I would highly recommend, especially if you have Amazon. They're on Paramount Plus. I don't remember how the structure is. Sometimes you got to pay more, but other times you can get like a 7-day trial. So if you're in the mood to binge watch and you do trial, you might get it for free. Don't quote me on that. The first is Landman, which was an incredible show. It is actually written by Taylor Sheridan, I think it is, the same guy who wrote Yellowstone, but I've heard mixed reviews on Yellowstone. I think we might have watched 1 or 2 episodes of it, but I've heard it's very violent. And Landman is very well thought out. The characters are awesome. It's a drama with like a little bit of lighthearted humor, definitely some twists and turns, and it's all about like Texas oil country and life. It's a really good show. And the 2nd season just ended over the past couple weeks. So they did renew it for a 3rd season, I saw. I think so many people are really liking that show. So I think it'll be later this year. So we're looking forward to that. The second show was The Night Manager. And that was another excellent show. And the first season actually came out, I think, about 10 years ago. And this is now the second season, 10 years later, but doesn't follow the same story. It's a continuation of 10 years later, we're dealing with the villain again. And it reminds me a lot of James Bond in more of a realistic TV adjacent format. And Hugh Laurie is in it, who he played House, and he's like the main villain, and he's a great actor, and I think he does it very well. Same as, the majority of the people in Landman too, and they really just make the show. Both of them are really good, and I'd highly recommend you check them out. Last, before we wrap up, let's talk about 10 to the table, the ultra forgiving dinner that you need to make this week. This is one of our most reliable meals right now, I think. And I keep it probably every 2 weeks we have it. Sliced kielbasa, onion, zucchini, cherry tomatoes, mix them up in a bowl, chop it how you want. I joke with my husband, I want to take a bite of all of those elements together. He, however, likes to separate all of those things. So I'll cut them up small enough where I can kind of have a bite of everything, but it's not just like a mush together, tiny pieces. If that makes sense. Olive oil, salt, pepper, herbs. I go for a lot of the times like thyme, parsley, sometimes like a little bit of tarragon maybe, or something a little bit different. But all of it's delicious. I don't do Italian seasonings on this necessarily because I use Italian in so much other cooking. But $3.75, 25 minutes, hands off. Serve it with rice. It could be a pouch. I mean, it's going to take you 5 minutes or less to prep this meal and then be hands off while you are helping your kids, catching up, doing whatever you got to do before dinner goes on the table. It works when you're tired. Doesn't care if you're behind, of course. It's a load-bearing meal, we'll say. So here's what I would love to leave you with today. Systems exist to make life easier, but not to prove your discipline. If it doesn't hold on a hard day, it just needs more support and some changes, not more effort or more coming down on yourself, we'll say. You don't need to overhaul anything. You just got to ask, what is one place today that I can reduce some friction in? Make one move, one adjustment, maybe one system that can really hold and support you. And that is how life gets just a little bit lighter. Hope you have a good day. Thanks so much for listening to the Real Mom Manual podcast. If something in this episode made you think that would actually help, share it with another mom who might need it. And if you want to help more moms find the show, taking 30 seconds to leave a review genuinely makes a difference. Until next time, keep it real, keep it simple, and I'll talk to you soon.